In 2022, I had a premonition. I had just walked off stage from the Lawrence Buster Fest, just down the street over here, when I was suddenly hit with this overwhelming feeling that this was my last aerial performance. I had no idea why. But when a friend offered to do a professional photo shoot a few weeks later, I jumped at the chance. This is me, 1 month before my life was completely upended. That year, I learned firsthand that we are all just one illness, injury, or birthday away from disability, and not a single one of us is ready for it. From the moment we're born, we are celebrated for pushing the limits of our capabilities, our first words, our first steps, riding a bike, making the team, getting the award. The world tells us on repeat that our successes make us who we are. So why not run the marathon, start CrossFit, go for that huge stretch promotion? We'll just build the muscles along the way, right? This way of thinking works beautifully to expand our capacity as humans, most of the time. And yet, in a world where our worth is far too often defined by those very accomplishments, the inevitable limitations of illness, injury, and age can shake the very foundation of who we are. It's the 19-year-old whose concussion from snowboarding still isn't healing. She drops out of college 12 months later because she can't sit through a lecture without a head-splitting migraine, and vertigo makes it impossible for her to drive. It's the 41-year-old ultra-marathon runner and partner in his Fortune 500 firm who can no longer work or even walk to the end of his driveway thanks to the sudden onset of a poorly understood illness with no proven treatment options. It's the 84,000 people under age 39 who will be diagnosed with a new cancer this year alone. Many of them will put their education, their career, and their lives on hold as they pursue treatment and survival. And add to the list the 4 million Americans like me who are still severely affected by the aftermath of a COVID infection, stripping them of their freedoms, their capabilities, their hopes, and their dreams. When the only worldview you've ever known is stretching beyond the limits and pushing yourself, what happens when you suddenly have to take a huge step backwards? Just imagine with me, if suddenly working only 2 to 3 hours a day from home is so exhausting you have to rest for 4 hours just to have the energy to warm up some food for dinner. Or if walking slowly to the second floor pushes your heart rate to 180 and leaves you completely out of breath. Or you spent $30,000 on doctors and treatments and somehow you're still no closer to answers. Why not just push through? Why not just work harder? Why not just exercise more, lose the weight, eat healthier? Or my favorite, why don't you just get up and move more? This is the inevitability of disability. We don't get a say in when it comes for us, but when it does, we will all be forced to reframe the world that we live in. The physical, mental, and emotional resources we once had may no longer be reliable, more often than not. We may be left holding the shattered remnants of our identity while the rest of the world moves on. And yet, these limits that we face, they're not weaknesses or flaws, they are simply our human reality. And these limits give us an opportunity to redefine what success, fulfillment, and worth looks like. I came across this quote not too long ago. Your best is what you can do without harming your physical or mental health, not what you can accomplish by disregarding them. These words stopped me in my tracks. In fact, I had a bit of a visceral reaction to this. No. My best is giving it my all, right? Right? It took me a little longer than I would like to admit to figure out what this really truly means. So I'm just going to give you a little example. When we push our bodies to do new things, let's say run a half marathon, it's hard. Nearly every person hits a point where they just don't want to continue because it is painful and it is pushing us beyond our limits. However, it's building muscles and endurance along the way. But if you were running that same half marathon with, say, a torn meniscus, the damage you could cause could become destructive and irreversible. And one day, we will all wake up with that proverbial torn meniscus. What was possible yesterday isn't possible today anymore. And while, of course, we can make healthy choices along the way, we have no real control over when that day comes. And we are not ready for it. But what if, instead of seeing those limits as weaknesses, we saw them as an opportunity to live boldly and creatively without pushing ourselves to burnout and injury? Why not set boundaries that protect our health? Why not embrace rest as wisdom? Why not love ourselves, not despite those challenges, but because of how we rise to meet them every day? It's been almost 3 years since I had that premonition. In August of 2022, I caught a mild case of COVID, 1 month after that performance and that photo shoot. Over the next 12 months, I experienced a bizarre revolving door of symptoms while I clung desperately to everything I used to be able to do. The result was me consistently pushing myself far beyond my limits and making my health dramatically worse in the process. I was stuck in what we like to call the boom-bust cycles. Periods of activity and energy followed by dramatic physical and mental crashes that continue to get worse and worse the longer you are in this cycle. I distinctly remember this one moment after a long day at work, standing over the kitchen sink as I literally wrung my hands, trying desperately to remember how to wash dishes. Soap. Come on, what's next? Water. Yeah. Just one more. Come on. A few months later, I had to leave my job after a manic suicidal reaction to a pain medication that was a last-ditch attempt to allow me to continue working. It's been a rough 3 years, and it's left me with far more questions than answers. And yet, that premonition, it paved the way to acceptance for me. Over time, and with the help of an incredible support community, some of whom are here tonight, and of course my therapist, I have been learning that by honoring my limits, I can create a new kind of full life. Now, why not mean something different to me? Why not rest when I need to? Why not celebrate the small victories? A good day that will allow me to walk through the grocery store without collapsing. A new treatment to try. Or perhaps just simply showing up exactly as I am without hiding the truth of my otherwise invisible disability. I'm not who I once was, and I don't regret it. I have been honored to join an active international community of hundreds of thousands of people who are living with invisible illness and disability, who live this mantra daily. Endurance athletes, teachers, doctors, students, mental health professionals, nurses, lawyers, all who are living with severely restricted limits, who continue to show up in all the ways they can to make a difference and to be a light to others walking the path with them, like me. I am inspired daily by this community, but not because they are somehow superhuman, like we so often love to idolize people with disabilities. Nope, it is because they are truly, unapologetically, fully human, grieving, growing, learning, and showing up in the ways they can, limits and all. It is not a stretch to say that they are why I am here today. So, how do we embrace this new way of thinking? Fun fact, we all already have limits, whether you want to acknowledge them or not. And those limits provide us the perfect playground to practice. So today I just want to give you 3 small things to try. First, pay attention to your body. Will saying yes to this thing push you to grow new muscles like a good workout, or will it be more like continuing to train on that torn meniscus? And only you know. Learn your own boom and bust cycles, and then practice saying yes to the things that will stretch you and grow you, while also practice saying no to the things that will push you too far. 2, embrace the wisdom of rest. In a world that glorifies doing whatever it takes, choosing rest is a radical act of self-care and resilience. Athletes understand this. We can apply this to the rest of life as well. Resting when you need it does not make you lazy. It makes you wise. And 3, define success by your own values. What matters most to you? The definition of success is unique for each and every one of us, and we cannot allow the world to define it for us. For some of us, it is simply getting through the day with kindness towards ourselves. And for some of us, it's pushing for that new PR. Perhaps it's taking that new scary job opportunity. Or perhaps it's getting back into dance, but maybe this time it's going to be in a wheelchair. Disability is inevitable. Whether the limitations that you will face come from illness, injury, or age, the old measures of success will no longer apply. So when the day comes when you cannot push yourself the way you used to, and it will come for all of us, how will you adapt? The question is not if you will face disability. The question is who will you become when you do? Thank you.